Uncle Howdy had, as a character, his debut match. It was Bo Dallas's first match in about 5 years, and it was almost a year to the day that his brother passed. And he had a match with Chad Gable, and you know what? I thought it was pretty much exactly what you'd want from it. Therefore, I would argue it's a fairly perfect debut for in-ring for this character.
I think so too.
So let's talk about it. I'm Luke Owen, DAD. This is the Professor, the Truth, Dan Layton, and welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of Monday Night Raw. Please do press that subscribe button. Give us a little thumbs up as well. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this show. Apologies if our voices still sound a little bit croaky. We'll do our best to muddle our way through.
I screamed at Nigel McGuinness. I screamed in his face.
If you want to join the live conversation, we are live here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel, so join the Swav Nation, get your thoughts in there. But if you want them read out on the air, WrestleTalk.com/support is the link to click.
Is that ketchup? So I've just seen on the table here, there's a little sachet of something, and I'm not going to be able to do the show without realizing what it is.
It's a lens wipe.
It's a lens wipe. That's fine. Now I know.
I don't think we would just have a random packet of ketchup.
Oh, it's in fairness, the color-wise, it could be HP sauce. Maybe someone had, you never know.
We run a tight ship here.
It's just very tidy in here in a minute because we had guests last week. So
legit, that is what happened.
100%.
We had guests coming in. So editor Wes, off his own back, just came downstairs and tidied it up a little bit. It did mean that we lost some things.
Yeah. Oh, did we?
So last week when we had Meltzer and Alvarez in the studio, the fourth microphone got tidied away next door.
Great.
So producer Rich was running around like a headless chicken trying to find the other microphone while I was trying to record Survival
It's
series.
like when you move in with someone and they really help you out by putting the stuff away from the dishwasher, but my God, they put it in the wrong place. That really is a difficult thing.
Yeah, the plates don't go there.
They don't live there.
No, they don't go there. And actually, if they do go there, I want them stacked this way.
And this is what you're here for.
So welcome to the Raw podcast. So we're going to be reviewing this episode of Monday Night Raw, which I thought was a really good episode of Monday Night Raw.
As go-home shows go, especially.
Well, actually, I was found to argue the opposite. I think it's a go-home show failure. Because it didn't build any of the matches for the pay-per-view. But as an episode of television, it was really, really good.
But usually we have that thing where the go-home shows are like... Sure. Yeah. And now it's pay-per-view time. Whereas this one, I was like, oh, stuff's happening.
Yeah, stuff's happening. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. We'll have our predictions for Bash in Berlin going live tomorrow. But we're going to focus on this episode of Raw, which kind of was really built around this debut match of Uncle Howdy. We've been building to this for quite some time now. We had the trios match with the Wyatt Six versus American Made, which the Wyatt Six picked up the victory. And we said at the time, and we're kind of repeat some of the similar points here, the conversations going in about the Wyatt Six was, sure, this presentation is cool. Sure, the music is cool. Sure, the mask is cool. But what happens when the bell rings?
Yeah.
We've had, that has been a topic of conversation for the last few months. What happens when the bell rings? And we watched that trios match, and we were like, they had a regular match. And actually, that's all you want. They just did some spots, and they won. Great. Big old thumbs up. And I have the same thing here. I didn't need anything else from this match.
Right.
I just needed Bo to go in there for the mask and hair not to fall off. Are you all right?
Yeah, just taking my shoes off. I didn't realize it was showing in my face.
It's because you were staring up at the screen, and I was like, can he see that something's wrong on the screen?
I just was taking my shoes off, and I thought I was getting away with it, but then apparently not.
I've highlighted it now.
Thank you.
I just needed him to get in there, the mask and hair not to fall off, him to do the tributes, and which he did, the tributes to Bray Wyatt, he did tributes to Brody Lee in this match as well, and win. The Wyatt Six got involved, American Made got involved, and Bo won. This is all you need from this. So from that sense, when you use the term, which I have for this video in all fairness, a perfect debut, I think what people look like, well, it wasn't like blow away or anything. I was like, I'm not saying that.
No.
But it just accomplished what it needed to accomplish, and it didn't get anything wrong. Ergo, this is all you'd really want.
I've also seen opinions to the contrary, right? I've also seen, I have elsewhere in the commentary, I see someone essentially sort of say it was underwhelming because of the things you've said. Actually, for me, because of the things that you've highlighted there, that is a job well done, because the question of what happens when the bell rings kind of had an awful lot to do with the supernatural element of the previous Bray Wyatt characters, gimmicks, where it was one of those things of The Fiend was an incredible character, and that debut against Finn Balor, where he just sort of murdered him, was spectacular.
Like, mind melding.
Yeah, where it really felt like something unseen, something unbelievable, something that felt like a real shift. And then we went into Hell in a Cell and we got the kooky lights and the
sort of got it wrong
stoppage and it all was, and that just stopped the momentum. Here, by virtue of it being a real grounded wrestling match, that question now is almost irrelevant. Like, what happens when the bell rings?
No one's going to be asking that when it comes to the next matches.
Exactly. The interesting thing for me was that he kept his mask on. There was a question for me, like whether or not, the others have taken their masks off during the match. It's very much we were at Riot Cabaret the weekend and Spike Gervais there, and not to be a sort of theatre wanker about it, but I was looking at his mask thinking, wow, it's very commedia dell'arte, it's very theatrical, and the idea of what masks represent, what they do to distort figures and make you feel uncomfortable and things like that. Then they come off and we fight. Howdy's staying on is a really interesting character part. I'm saying Pierce's office.
And actually in the arena when we had the segment with Chad Gable.
Of course, yes, he has been in the arena without his mask on. There's a very different demeanour. Yeah. A very different physicality.
It's a different character.
Yeah, and I'd be interested if they play with that at any stage. But in terms of just getting the job done and him coming out and having a match here, this was never supposed to be bells, whistles. There's no, I suppose, maybe this is have higher standards for yourself, but
100%.
There's no reason that this needed to be a 5-star barn burner. Do you know what I mean? They just needed to go out and have a good match, and they did that.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's why Gable and American Made were almost like really good first foils for them, because Gable's a guy, and there's kind of two sides to this as well. Like, Gable's the perfect guy to put him in the ring with, because Gable will make everyone look amazing. Like, that's a Chad Gable skill. The other side of that coin, of course, is just like, well, I want more for Chad Gable. He's just got this new heel group, and all they've done is lose. Yeah. Like, I've seen them win one match in in about 10 attempts. So it's like Pure Fusion Collective at this point of like, are they actually a serious threat, or are they just like, I just like them? But I think it worked though. Like, he just went in there, they just did a match, and it was just a standard match. But I think you're right. Like, and I think maybe why I enjoyed this so much, and because now when it comes to the White Six getting booked for more things, or Uncle Howdy getting booked for more matches, I'm not going to have that question of what happens when the bell rings, because the answer's there. It's like, well, they'll just have a match, and that match will be fine, or they'll go out there and they'll put on an absolute barnstormer. But you didn't need to do that here in this opening thing. And the question, I suppose, has come up. So there is apparently is there a bit of buffering happening? I think it's probably YouTube's fault, but we'll try and do what we can with it. Hopefully the audio will still be fine when we do the audio version of this. What was I saying? So yeah, the question, there's 2 points I have seen about this. Number one, it's the old mask and wig. So like I prefer the other mask
with the locks.
With the locks, I thought that was better. The white hair, I think, it's not great, but it's not like, I'd imagine maybe wrestling with the locks is harder. But the second point, and I think this is probably more key, is why was this not on the pay-per-view? Why was this not on Bash in Berlin? When you want to try and like advertise this as a big deal. But I think that's kind of the new thing of the new era, right? Which is that we have 5 matches on the pay-per-view, but on the go-home show of Raw and the following week's Raw and the go-home episodes of SmackDown and the following SmackDown, we have big marquee matches that you tune in for. So TV is just as important as pay-per-view. And because WWE are not a pay-per-view model company anymore, and haven't been for 10 plus years, they don't need to do, you need to save this for pay-per-view, because Raw's the same length as the pay-per-views.
Sure. And also I pay for the network. It's part of one of my subscription packages. If you're already a Peacock subscriber, you already have it. It's going to go over to Netflix.
It's going to be even more in the Netflix era.
You don't feel shortchanged as a consumer in the same way. That said, because you posed the idea, I do think there's a benefit to it, because there's something about a nice bookend and a nice, building to that moment, and then having that be a special turning point. And it almost, because of the lack of storyline angle based, I'm going to come out and do a promo, I'm going to do a bit backstage, whatever, continuing the story for the pay-per-view process that you have on an actual pay-per-view show, you are afforded a bit more time to do that barnstormer thing, to do a bit more bells and whistles. And also, because of the stakes of a pay-per-view match, eating a loss doesn't hurt as much, because it's like you lose the final, you come second. Do you know what I mean? It's a clumsy metaphor, but when you were talking about American Made and their they're together and they lose a lot. I think that's a very valid and fair thing to point out and to highlight. Because it's Chad Gable and because of the way he's a reliable hand. I think he's probably Triple H's like most valued player in that regard. Yeah. And also he is really good at just making you buy it. Completely. Like he's making you buy what he's selling. He's working out against him. He says, I'll show you why I'm American made. I was like, yeah, I bet you will, kind of thing. I'm really buying into it. So I don't really have that sense of what are you going to do next kind of thing.
I've got the same thing. I think that's the to use a WWE phrase of old, the intangible quality of a Chad Gable is he can just get beat all the time. And it doesn't seem to affect him in any way whatsoever. And I think that is a genuine skill of the man. But, almost to the detriment of them, like, well, then he never gets pushed because, well, if you never lose anything when you lose, we may as well just have you lose all the time. The question of putting it on pay-per-view, I think it's more of a timing thing. Aside of, like, making TV feel as special as pay-per-views, because they're not really pay-per-views anymore. It is, I think it's more for the in timing with the passing of Bray. Right. Because he passed away a year to the day on Saturday, I believe it was. So his brother then having his first match as the Uncle Howdy character 2 days later, I think probably means a bit more than him having it a week later. So
in Germany. Like
in Germany, yeah. So I just think that maybe that kind of played a factor into it as well. This felt like, and they were talking about when he made the entrance and he got in the ring, Michael Cole was like, the spirit's here, man. Like he's like,
I mean, he was wearing the gauntlet. They made a point of saying the gauntlet on his hand was made from Bray's old gear.
Yeah.
So like it was very, very present, very part of that. They spoke about Bray as being like the teachings. They follow the teachings of Bray Wyatt, and by mentioning by name, it very much made it feel like a very present thing.
Yeah. So I wanted to lead with this because a lot of people were talking about this. I mean, I was going to lead with Reed and Bronson because that was my favorite thing on this show. But I thought it was really nice for us to kind of pay tribute, particularly as well with the passing of Sid, for us to kind of reflect upon, sort of the wrestling world and sort of, fallen icons and things like that. I just think that maybe that was part of it that I just saw this and I was like, do you know what? You did it, guys.
Yeah.
You absolutely 100% nailed that.
And it also felt like especially because you had the American Made interfere, and chased out of the arena, and then Bo is there celebrating on his own kind of thing. It felt like a finish of that. I don't know if they'll go back into, whereas like that triple threat, the 6-man tag felt like that could be the end. We hadn't had Chad and Bo yet. Now we have. It feels like that could be a real opportunity. Now we're going to have a pay-per-view cycle, then go into next week. A real opportunity to sort of... We've done the introduction of this unit now, and here they go, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I actually hadn't considered that. I just assumed... I don't even know why I did, but I just kind of assumed that it would just stick with American Made for a little bit. But you're right, like, they have beaten them twice now. They've beaten them in the 6-man. They've beaten them in the singles. There isn't really much else to go with this as a feud. And, a lot of people point to it was like, well, Judgment Day will likely be next because they are also someone who have stabbed family in the back. And then, down the line, you can look at the bloodline of stabbing family in the back if that is like, that's one of their key messages. But I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, they're busy for definitely the next few months because we're doing this match at Bash and then it's going to do Finn and Priest and we've still got Rhea and Liv to get to as well. So I'm like, well, maybe what are they going to do next then? Like, who do they target?
But at this point, at the start of their feud, we kind of had no idea anyway. And so in the past where I might have gone like, uh-oh, what are you going to do?
What's next?
And in fact, for a lot of this, in the lead up to their debut, we were like that. I think the collective wrestling fandom was sort of holding their breath and being like, oh, I want this to do well for them, but I don't know that it will. And then what we've received has been real good stuff. Real good stuff.
Really good.
It's over with the live crowds. It doesn't feel as hokey as it might have. So now I'm just like, yeah, we'll see. Maybe it will be more of this, maybe not. But a massive success.
Can I give you a pitch of who I could have them feud with? Just because, and I mean this in the politest way possible, as a placeholder feud before we get to the the meat and potato of Judgment Day. Final Testament. In the sense of, they tried to break a family up. They were going out of their way to break up the New Day. Like that was their aim, was to take Xavier Woods. They now have seemingly parted ways. So they're not going into those feuds anymore. So you could have the Wyatts go against Final Testament, who are a faction of lads and that. as a bit of a placeholder, sort of like seems to keep both the teams doing something while we wait for the Wyatts to get to, while Judgment Day are finishing up with their stuff.
I think this is now more of an opportunity, now that we've answered the question of what happens when the bell rings quite decisively. With the only question mark now is Nikki Cross, but we can probably put hands together. We know what's going to happen. Now that we've answered that question and got it out of the way, we can start to really flesh out and envelop, and if it were me in the creative room, I'd be pushing hard for them to put specific words, and with WWE's like lack of subtlety.
Oh yeah.
You like lean into that and give us their goals. Why are they here? Why do they operate the way they do? We sort of know why they've been brought together. I'd like them to talk about being the conscience. I'd like them to talk about specifically why they're targeting certain people. And yeah, not be subtle about it. Maybe that would be too much and it would feel a bit hokey, but I think it might be a benefit, actually.
Let's see what you think about this match in the Ultra Chats. WrestleTalk.com/support. Get in your Ultra Chats, and we'll read out all of them before the end of the show. And Anson Reinhardt, who's been a member for 19 months in a row, said, the Bo promo felt like I was watching Bray again. He really has done an amazing job with this character, and I'm so excited for his future as Uncle Howdy. Will Campbell here said, hi guys, last night's episode was great, and this match in particular. I love how Chad slowly backed down the ring steps to show fear, but also gave Bo his moment in the ring to swing the lantern. Also, Gable sells to Sister Abigail like a total psychopath.
Oh, he absolutely does. He absolutely, the landing on his head and bouncing over.
Leaps into it.
Makes me terrified. I also, to highlight this here, like when he's backing away, that's why Chad Gable is that MVP character. He's someone who is able... I believe him as a legit badass.
Yeah.
I believe him as someone who has the knowledge, skill, strength, speed, agility, whatever it takes to win any match he's in. It's why I believed he could beat Gunther, even when Gunther's reign was obviously continuing. I still kind of had that moment of, oh, maybe you will. That's why he's the MVP, and his ability to sell the emotion of it as well is a real asset to him. Also, on the Bo thing, just to I was thinking about what Hansen said. The promo we got, all the promos we've had from Bo, but the promo this week as well, that character work, that performance that feels light years away from Bo Leave.
Oh yeah.
With all due respect to Bo Leave, which was obviously a comedy gimmick, obviously meant to be a certain type of way. This feels like so authentic, and any fears that may have existed for whether or not how do you exist in the shadow of someone like Bray Wyatt
when he was such a imposing figure?
Yeah, this has shown not only can he exist in the shadow of it, but he can revel in it.
Yeah, revel
in who you are. Like it's made that shadow not something to be feared, but something to carry them forward almost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that shadow gives them energy because it's channeling the prophet Bray Wyatt now.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing to have to utilize, but it also turns it into something kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick here said, hey guys, hope all is well. I mean this in the best way possible. I love Bo and the Wyatt Six. I just wish that Bo wasn't trying to wrestle like Bray. I get that he's paying tribute to his brother, but the group itself is a tribute to Bray. Maybe it's just me.
I get you. I hear you.
Yeah, totally.
You don't want it to become like a tribute act. You don't want it to just become, I'm going to pop you by doing the hanging upside down thing.
Yeah.
But also, if you're following this thread of these are the teachings of Bray Wyatt, this is what he led us to be, then you would include those things. And I think, there are... Possibly it's because we don't have a Bo Dallas moveset that jumps to mind.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what his finisher was.
No, like, tell me a classic Bo Dallas match.
Right, exactly. And maybe there are some down in NXT.
There probably
was
were.
the first NXT champion. Or one of... No, it wasn't. Big E was the first NXT. No, Seth Rollins was.
Yeah.
He was the third NXT champion.
All right, Survival Series.
I know this is where I got stuck. It's actually not. I got stuck a lot sooner. But yeah, he was a former NXT champion, so he's very talented. We know this, but because we don't have that base level of like, I know all of these Bo moves, we see him doing the Bray stuff.
Yeah, I think I said this last week when I talked about Randy Orton versus Ludwig Kaiser, which was like close your eyes and you can picture this match in your head.
Yeah,
because we've seen so many like classic Randy Orton matches that you know what he moves in the ring like, you know what he does. Like this move sets up this move that sets up this move. I don't have that with Bo. Like if you asked me to close your eyes and picture a Bo Dallas match, I'd kind of be a bit stumped for it. So I don't think I didn't have the he wrestles too much like his brother, or he's trying to wrestle too much like his brother. But I do understand the idea of just like there's a certain ceiling to just being effectively a tribute act.
Yeah, but also again, this is Match Uno. This is match 1.
It's match 1.
We had to just get it over the line.
So I thought you said Match Uno. Then I was like, is he down in
NXT?
NXT?
Match Uno. He's a big. You watch out for Match Uno. He's going to come and reverse you. I don't know. We'll work up. I'm going to create a character called Match Uno. He's going to all of his movesets are going to be Uno based jokes. No, because this is the first outing. You got to do the hits. You got to get it over the line.
Totally do. That's exactly it. And again, that's why I thought it was a perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's in the sense of what is perfect. I would say it is. Yeah.
So we'll get into the rest of this episode of Monday Night Raw. But before we do, it's a bit of an announcement to make on this episode. Sorry?
You're about to make me sad.
I'm not going to, because I thought we would just make the announcement now, because I want to give people time in case they want to get any messages in.
Oh, God.
This is our last show together. Dan is going off to bigger and brighter and better things outside of these 4 walls. It's not your final show because you're doing the Raw podcast next week.
Yeah.
But I'm not here next week. So Ollie Davis is going to be doing that with you. But this means then that this is our final Raw show together.
Yeah.
We have.
Try not to think about it. He keeps bringing this up, and it makes me sad, so I don't talk about it.
Exactly. We'll do more of this later on in the show when I'm sure we'll have some messages in. But we'll have a show tomorrow because we've recorded our Bash in Berlin prediction. So technically that's our last show together. But this is our last live Raw show together.
It is, yeah.
So
I'm going back to school. I'm a bit nervous about it. It's still sort of like up in the air. It might go massively wrong, and if it does, I'll be like outside the window. Can I come back? I'll do an NXT review, please. But yeah, this is I don't want to go. Don't make me go.
I know. Well, we don't want you to go either.
No,
but I do want you to to go because I know
you're the one who told me to do it. I will say.
Yeah, because I know you're going to go off and do really good things. Yeah. So I think you should go. I'm going to be like Harry and the Hendersons.
We don't love you anymore.
We don't love you anymore. Get out of here, you big idiot.
My intention is to Pat McAfee the ever-living shit out of this. Like, I'm going away, but there'll be a point where I'm like, I'm free to come back now. You want to come back now?
Yeah, I was going to say we should say it's not the end because you're free on weekends, so we might bring you for pay-per-view reviews.
If you need a hand at a weekend and someone wants,
you're reviewing All Out.
This is it. Someone doesn't want to come in, so I'm not going any.
You're reviewing Bash in Berlin.
Also, we're friends. Like you're not allowed to not talk to me.
I know.
I've made Luke promise to take me to wrestling shows.
Because
Luke all weekend. No. Luke all weekend has been like, it's our last show together, and I'm like, and he's like, basically insinuating that I'll never see him again the second we leave this room.
Not what I meant.
It's what it felt.
It's not what I meant. It's when I hugged you All In, and I was like, "I'll see you on Tuesday for our last show." And I thought, and you were like, "I'm not dying."
Yeah,
and it's like, "I'll come to other shows." I'm like, "I'm specifically talking about Raw,"
which is our show.
That's our show.
It's our show.
It means something to me.
Anyway,
if you want to get some messages in for Dan, Dan doesn't want to read them, but I will read them out. This show opened with New Judgment Day coming out for a promo. Speaking of Pat McAfee, he has now gone off to do his
college football
stuff at ESPN. So Corey Graves back on commentary. I've been saying,
let's talk about this.
Okay,
please. You've been saying.
Well, I've been saying I'm not the biggest Pat guy.
No,
I'm not a Pat fan.
Yeah,
right? And I have found myself. I've just sort of tuned him out, and I don't really hear him much anymore. It's kind of like what Michael Cole was in 2019. I don't hear what Michael Cole says anymore. I just hear ambient noise in the background. It's like a white noise machine has been turned on that says buzzwords.
Yeah.
But now I hear Michael Cole, so I think he's doing much better. But Pat, it does nothing for me. These two together, though, I'm like, this is a great commentary duo, and I'm really, really enjoying this. And this has made me realize that I really did not like Pat on commentary because this is what I like.
Well, I came around to Pat by the end of it. Corey, and I think Corey's fantastic. I think he always has been. I've been a big fan of him, especially since NXT. I think he's underrated. I think maybe because he was playing the sort of classy Freddie, not classy Freddie, who am I thinking of? Bobby Heenan. The Bobby Heenan, and he wasn't. He was still in many ways figuring out how to do that. I think some people sort of like push back a little bit. For me, I think he's really smart. We had an example in the Howdy match where a bit of the light got caught in his hair, and rather than it just be a thing that was sort of present, he said he hit the table so hard that's got lodged in his mask. I don't know how he's going to deal with that. He did the same thing with the Damien Priest thing. I've put him over many times before. I think Corey Graves is real good, and I'm kind of sad because I thought he was leaning into and doing really well as a color commentator over on SmackDown. I actually think Graves Barrett, that's my duo. Yeah. I really like that as a duo.
I'm surprised at how much I've enjoyed that as well. Someone who has transitioned from color to play-by-play.
Which is a different discipline.
It's no easy feat to be able to, and he has done it really, really well. And I think Wade is great at color commentary. And so, which I think he's also in a very good hand because the reported plans are next week. Yeah. We're getting our new commentary team for Raw, which is going to be Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett.
Because Michael Cole and Corey Graves are going to be the SmackDown people. SmackDown's moving to USA in 3 weeks' time, and then obviously by the time it moves over to Raw moves over to Netflix, that's when Pat's coming back. So that'll be Cole and Pat.
So Cole and Pat will be doing Raw again once it goes to Netflix, and Joe Tessitore, Corey, and Barrett will become the SmackDown trio. But yeah, we'll get to see what Joe and Wade are like. But I love, to echo your point, I think that Wade and Graves have been really, really solid together. But I actually really like Graves and Cole. Yeah, I think they play each other really, really well.
Yeah, they do, and I'm curious about this. I don't. He's an NFL commentator, I think.
I think he actually done ESPN Sports Day, college day, football stuff. It's kind of like what Pat's doing. Yeah. I believe that's where he's from.
So it'll be interesting to see new hands because but the thing was, Kevin Patrick was real good as an MLS commentator, really good. Just didn't translate over to WWE. It's hard. You can't. It's not guaranteed that because you're good at one type of commentary, you're going to be good at the other. So. Let's see what happens.
See what happens. Lifelong wrestling fan.
Oh, good.
Let's see how he slots into this role. But anyway, Judgment Day come out and they say hey, we kicked them out because they deserve to be kicked out for trying to stab us in the back. We're going to win at Bash in Berlin. Dominic in here announces that he's entering into this IC title tournament, which we learnt on this show is 4 triple threat matches with the winners going into a fatal 4-way match, and the winner of that will become the number 1 contender. Lovely stuff. And the LWO come out. So Ray talks about how Dom has lost his way. He doesn't have any balls anymore. He calls him a jackass. And I'm going to knock the mustache off your face. Then everyone got into a brawl. And that led into Judgment Day versus LWO in an 8-man tag.
It certainly did. This was a very simple segment.
Yeah.
Did everything it was supposed to do. I thought Liv saying all rise for the Judgment Day made me very angry, which I appreciated. I was like, how dare you? Those aren't your words.
Yeah.
And actually, she really got my nerves in this moment because she did a really good little bit of promo about Rhea and then almost got so excited by the moment that she did ha 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 and then went back into her usual method of speaking. I was like, no, go back to that bit from seconds ago because you're good. There's something about the delivery across the board all of wrestling, both companies have, of doing a promo like this, and it just doesn't work. It's not good.
I agree with you because when she so Liv's way of doing promos is to say something and they go ha 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 ha, and then later on the Unholy Union did the exact same thing in their promo, which is we're gonna see something about you now.
Nia Jax has done it. Mercedes is awful for it.
Yeah,
and actually this male wrestlers do it as well. I want to be clear.
Seth Rollins has this whole gimmick for
exactly. They do. There's no rhyme or reason to which syllable they choose to emphasize, and it really gets on my nerves. I just speak like humans.
But yeah, I guess they just want to be characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, this led into Judgment Day versus LWO. Standard 6-man formula. They work over Del Toro. You get the hot tag to Wild. He then runs Wild, and they did the slingshot dive, which is such a cool visual. It's really, really good. Come out of the commercial break, the heels are working over Wild to build to the Ray hot tag. And then when Ray gets in and basically got into this final stretch, match just got this crowd was super hot for all of this. The match just broke down into let's do dives, let's do moves. And they had this moment where all 4 of them did dives, but they ran against the rope. So this person starts over here. This is terrible for podcast listeners.
Yeah.
Starts on the left, and then dived out on the left-hand side of the ring as well, while one person came out on the right and ran across the ring and then dived on the outside of the ring.
And then
and on the opposite side as well.
So a crossword.
All 4 of them did crisscross running to create these crisscross dives. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And they shot it from above as well, so you can see the magic of it. Crisscross will make you dive. It was just a really, really cool visual.
This match was great.
Yeah, it's
was
good.
real good. And I think what was kind of interesting, it kind of highlights a point that I've made a few times, which is that the LWO come out and I go, oh. And then they have this match and I go, oh.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could kind of just remind me you're good.
Yeah.
And I'll be in. Do you know what I mean? I think it's not, sometimes we overthink how wrestling has to be. Sometimes it can just be good.
The Judgment Day set up the announcer table because they were going to beat up the LWO some more after the match. But Rhea and Priest came down. The Terror Twins ran down, beat up JD and Carlito, while, crucially, as per, Finn, Dom, and Liv escape. Because the whole point is we're supposed to wait to get our hand, pay to see Dom and Liv get their comeuppance. They're just desserts when Priest and Rhea finally get their hands on them, which we're going to see this coming Saturday at Bash in Berlin.
Yeah, Rhea hitting that Riptide on JD was kind of a nice amuse-bouche.
Yeah, a soupçon.
A soupçon. Yeah. Oh, it's German. We need to find...
what's the German version?
Sauerkraut.
Oh, you're stereotyping. Jackie was backstage interviewing The Miz. Bronson Reed walked up and was like, I killed R-Truth. And once I'm done with killing Bronson Reed, I'm going to come and kill you as well. And yeah, that was that.
That was that?
That was that.
When did... No, that's later.
Okay. We had a backstage segment with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They noted, Kingston noted, you dressed all in black.
You goth.
Yeah, because, you know, there's the split of the New Day. And they're both in IC title 3-ways, but they're in separate 3-ways. And they kind of use this to kind of get back on the same page. You know, like, was like, look, I watched the footage back last week. Like, I know it was the easier tag. Like, I'm not bitter about it or anything like that. But you can kind of see that he has still got some resentments within all of this. But they make the point of them being in 2 separate triple threat matches means that it is twice as likely that they can get into the Fatal 4-way. Ergo, that means that maybe they'll have a 50% chance of the New Day winning an IC title. To kind of skip ahead slightly, but we'll come into the matches as we get to them. I really, really thought that one of them was going to qualify.
Me too.
I'm actually kind of gutted that neither did.
It's interesting because I feel like it's an opportunity. Woods has never had a singles title, right?
No, which then, you know, that's kind of Kross's point about from the Final Testament. And they were making this point on commentary as well. Like, he was
king of the ring, but
he's never had a singles championship.
Yeah. So if you'd have got him in the match and then Kofi didn't, and Kofi turned it into we're in the match.
Yeah.
We're going to bring this home for the New Day. And
then he's supporting him.
But like, he's really supporting him, but it makes it seem like he's taking his limelight. And then let's say Woods becomes the #1 contender. And again, it becomes, we're going to win this belt. And no, I am.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something in that. That's not what they've gone. So I was genuinely quite surprised. I thought this was setting us up for something quite interesting.
Yeah, and because I'm kind of back into this Kofi Woods thing now. Like, I've gone on a bit of a journey with it. Like, you know, because I had a real high with it when no one else was.
Yeah,
and then I came down on it to join everyone else, and now we've all collectively gone back up to this. Because we're like, I think it's really good. I think since the Odyssey Jones stuff, this has been a really good storyline again. They're now done with the Final Testament. We're moving into this new chapter of it. So I was kind of gutted that they weren't in. I'm more into them. I'm like, you know. No shade or anything. I'm more into this than I am Jey Uso. Like, Jey Uso, sure, great entrance and everything, and it's fun that everyone does the hand movement. But I'd much rather see Woods and Kingston in this match than Jey Uso.
Don't let Rikishi hear you.
I know. Rikishi will be mad upset with me on
Can we talk about this? Like, what's he got against Jimmy? He never comes out for Jimmy like this.
He's injured.
So
he's like, that they can't put him on TV.
Also, his other son is like in the main event over on SmackDown. Like, chill out, Rikishi.
Yeah. Well, that's because, you know, it's over, isn't he? Like, you can't say do more with Jimmy when Jimmy's not over, also injured. But like with Jey, the argument is, well, everyone loves doing the yeet thing, and it's a massively huge selling T-shirt, but they just haven't, like, what happened?
Yeah, they're really not putting Jey on TV ever.
Yeah, well, I think what Rikishi's point is more. I'm not saying I agree.
He's saying put the world title on him. Is what he's saying.
Well, obviously that's what he's saying. I'm not saying I agree with Rikishi either. I think the point he's more making is, what have they done with him this year? They had
Jackson.
What has he done since WrestleMania?
Yeah. Well, you know.
Like,
he wrestled for the world title.
He's had matches.
At Backlash.
But what's the story that he has had?
Yeet.
Well, I think that's more his point. Is like, these writers have got nothing for him. He hasn't been in a story since WrestleMania. And now, likely his next direction is just going to be back into a storyline with the Bloodline. And I'm looking at that means to me that these writers think, well, there's nothing you can do outside of Bloodline stuff.
Yeah, but he's been on telly every week. He's selling loads of merch.
But he hasn't won the world title, so Rikishi's mad about that.
Rikishi is cross about it.
He's cross about it. Yeah. He's Chris Cross about it.
He's Chris Cross applesauce.
They'll make you jump. It's making him jump out of his seat into a podcast chair and on a microphone.
Oh, God. I know I'm saying this on a podcast, but there should be fewer podcasts.
Honestly, yeah.
We're staying. We're
okay. I think we're fine. Do you know why I think we're fine? Is because aggregators don't write articles being like, WrestleTalk's Luke Owen thinks this about WWE Raw. I go on to when we'd write out the WrestleTalk news, I go on to we have this thing called Net Vibes, which kind of creates a load of RSS feeds. So it's kind of a way for me to collate all of the main aggregator sites and Fightful and everything. And here is all of the news.
Here's the news today.
Here's the news today, and I can click through it and stuff.
Like in the newsroom.
And then there was one of them, which Tommy Dreamer's thoughts, and I'm like, who gives a fuck what Tommy Dreamer has to say about MJF segments? Who could possibly care what Tommy Dreamer has to say about Will Ospreay versus MJF?
Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, but which is great, and I'm sure his partner probably loves it as well, and I'm sure his kids,
or maybe his partner doesn't, and is like, "Why don't you go and have a podcast? You can share those over there."
I'm sure Vince Russo has got all the time in the world to hear what Tommy Dreamer has to say about MJF versus Will Ospreay, but it doesn't mean that Wrestling Inc. have to put up an article about it and clog up my net vibe.
Sometimes it's a slow day, you know.
It's a slow day. Yes, it is.
So the problem is not the podcasts. It's the reports on the podcasts, and then the reports on the reports on the podcast.
Because otherwise, it's just Tommy Dreamer just talking to 5 people who listen to his podcast.
Shade.
You keep throwing shade at Tommy Dreamer. I should really be doing it to Disco Inferno because he's less relevant than Tommy Dreamer is. I think that's saying something. Anyway, up next in the women's tag team division, it's your weekly. I think we've seen this one. Damage Control beat Pure Fusion Collective pretty easily with minimal problems.
Certainly did.
Pure Fusion
Vega came back to equalize.
Yeah. Pure Fusion Collective, you'll be unsurprised to hear, cut a promo beforehand saying that they run the women's locker room, despite, I don't think, having won a single match.
Well, you see, Kathy Kelly, beloved, was there, and she said, you've put the locker room on notice, and she kind of was asking what that means, and I'm like, well, it doesn't really mean anything, Kathy. That's the problem.
Do a journalism, Kathy.
She didn't go to journalism with that.
No, it's... it was a totally fine match. They have their entrances, they cut back into a couple of backstage segments, they wrestle for 30 seconds, go to the commercial break, come back, it's the final minute, and then they win.
Yeah.
And Zelina Vega made her return.
Here's the problem. These are great people. These are good talents in many different ways, including promos. I'm sorry, I think they're good at promos. They're just not being given good material to get across. Yeah. I don't think Meryl Streep could get this material over, honestly. Because... to quote Boyzone, it's only words. You know? They're just saying things. And I think it just... I give WWE a lot of praise. I think they deserve it. I think they've earned it. It's this area that it just feels like they've gone, oh yeah, sneezed something out and said, spin that into gold. And then when they don't, it's like, well, that's why I'm not going to do another one. When they have matches... When they have competitive, bring back you got 2 hours on a countdown. Bring back pre-show matches and let them go 15 minutes.
Well, because I need to know what Paul Rosenberg has to say about.
Oh, this is true. Is it Paul Rosenberg? I don't know the name.
Yeah.
Either way, I just feel like giving them more space, giving them more time, giving them more opportunities is the way forward. For some reason, on SmackDown for a few weeks now, I've seen them use 2 hours of television far better than they use 3 hours of television, and I don't understand how the. And maybe one day I'll sit down, I'll borrow your stopwatch, and I'll sit down with a piece of paper and figure out where you can reapportion your time. But because it is tricky. It's easy for us to sit here. It's a lot trickier to book 8 hours of programming and fit in ad breaks and fit in, we've got a paid sponsorship because you've got to get your income streams, and we've got to find a way to showcase that Sheamus was on a telly show and give him a belt that doesn't belong to him. And we've got to have all of these various different aspects in and fit everyone on the show and push the pay-per-view and all the rest of it. It is complicated, and it is a lot easier to sit behind the desk and say, you should give them more time.
Of course it is.
But you should give them more time.
Yeah. And this was your only women's match on the show.
Yeah.
I do think that they can do better than this.
It's just, the frustrating thing is there is a really hot women's feud that doesn't need a title belt, And they could put that title belt elsewhere, have a second really hot women's feud over the title belt, and then have a tag division as well. Meanwhile, you've got the Intercontinental division, which I think is good. The US division, I think, is good. The World Championship divisions are good. There are feuds elsewhere. The New Day stuff I'm really into. They show us weekly how they can achieve feuds that we care about.
The Wyatts and American Made is not over a belt.
Nope. They do it all the time. I just wish they could...
This feud isn't over a belt either. But also I don't know what it is over.
Right.
Because all they do is they just have matches and Damage Control win.
Right.
So what's the story here?
It's not a competitive division. It's there.
Yeah. I honestly I don't get this. Do you know what a little bit like on my GM mode, if you put a star versus a jobber, the star always wins those matches. So and that's kind of what this almost feels like on television. It's just like, well, Io Sky's a bigger star than Zoe Stark is, so Io Sky wins all the time.
But they keep mentioning that Zoe Stark and Io Sky were tag team champions together, which is true. So why not showcase each other? But like, you can't just... I always talk about how wins and losses, you can look strong in defeat. But that's not an excuse to go in 50-50 all the time, which is really what they do. And this is this division, the tag team division in general, the men's as well, I will say. But the women's tag team division, in fact, the women's division in general, is really the only place where that 50-50 circular booking still exists. And
even then, like, you're absolutely right, because you can always get over in defeats. I think these don't get over in defeat because they get nothing out of these. Like, Damage Control get nothing out of the win, and Pure Future Collective get nothing out of the loss.
Yeah.
So, like, I just feel we're going nowhere with this. We are just spinning our wheels. I'm just gonna apologize to Tommy Dreamer. That was a bit harsh on Tommy Dreamer. You get paid, bud. Like, go you. I didn't mean to. I shouldn't have said that.
Did you feel a prickling in your Tony Hawk tattoo that you were betraying your 90s person?
Well, that was like, actually what I thought was like, oh, someone's going to clip this out, and, and Tommy Dreamer's going to say something on Twitter, and I can't be asked for the drama of it. So, like, I apologize to Tommy Dreamer. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was having a bit of fun, and I got carried away in the moment. I do mean what I said about Disco Inferno, though. So, apologies to you, Tommy Dreamer. If you do see this, if you clip this if you clip that bit out of context, make sure you clip this bit as well, so that you can show that I did say sorry to Tommy Dreamer.
The trite response.
I was a big ECW fan. And you were part of that. Anyway, we got a Bo Dallas promo, the VHS promo. This is more of a reckoning. This is a purge, and he calls Gable a false prophet. We had Drew McIntyre come out for a promo where he mocked the CM Punk style of promo. Where it's like, sure is great to be in insert city name. Boy, WWE is a hot... Basically, he did the routine I did from the WrestleTalk News last week, but did it in a promo form here. He talks about how, like, yeah, WWE's a really hot company at the moment, but he's been sat in his own ass at home for the last 8 years of that. So, like, why is he trying to take credit for it? I'll tell you why he is. It's you people. And he did a you people promo, but it didn't feel like a you people promo. It was a really clever way of doing this, where it was like, you keep chanting his name, and he's an egotistical prick. So all it does is just feeds his egotism.
He called us enablers.
And well, that's it, enablers. And I think then very smartly talking about alcoholism for a guy who's straight edge and stuff. It's like, he's basically now, for a guy who's straight edge, saying, you're an addict. You're an addict to your own name. And every one of these fans is an enabler who is feeding your addiction.
And that's what leads to self-destructive patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love all of that.
So I thought this was really, really great. Considering last week I said it felt like they had kind of talked everything out of this feud, because last week's promo was just covering all of the same ground. I thought they actually did find a new avenue for it here, which I really liked. He also said as well that Punk keeps attacking him from behind. And then, true to form, Punk attacked him from behind. And Punk attacked him. They had a little brawl. Security broke it up. This is a decent not go home angle.
If your problem is that Punk comes out and does promos that you feel are disingenuous, how do you fix that? Well, you have Drew McIntyre come out and do the promo so that Punk can do the beatdown. Great. I think it was hot. I think it was a good moment. Again, with the strap match thing, giving us a little hint, a little another German word, a bratwurst of what's to come. Like it was really effective.
Like on my Duolingo and see what words I've learned.
What is the German version of an amuse-bouche? It just was a really effective, like you say, go home segment, and I think I am tremendously excited to see where it's going.
Yeah, me too.
My question is, how do you? I would just like to see them do that kind of promo that they did. Before Christmas. Yeah. You know, where the three of them were together and it felt spicy and it felt scary.
Muttersprache.
Oh, bless you. yeah, I'm into it. I think it's going to be good. Don't know where we're going to go. How do you sustain it for another month? I guess we'll see.
I was also right as well. I was talking about this on the Bash in Berlin podcast. I was right. Einfach is easy.
Check your privilege.
Einfach.
Yeah. I think I did pretty well on that.
And I don't want to sod it. They're not going to say. I don't give ein fuck what you have to say.
I like this one.
Mitbewohnerin.
Roommate.
And they were roommates. Before this segment happened, though, did you spot what happened in the background?
Oh, I didn't know.
Let's play what happened in the background. Drew McIntyre was walking all smug to the camera, and then just over his shoulder was a certain Karrion Kross talking to a certain Mike the Miz Mizanin.
Really now?
There certainly was.
Well, there is a turn up for the I Don't Care books. Like that's...
Who's to say where that's going to go?
Are you going to like lure him away from the awesome truth?
Oh, I hope someone has to. Let's be honest.
Talk about a match I don't want to see. Karrion Kross versus The Miz.
Scarlett and Maurice stare off at each other.
Lead to a mixed tag match. Babyface Miz and Maurice versus heel Karrion Kross and Scarlett.
Wouldn't say no.
I would. We got a Braun Strowman video package, and then we did get Jey Uso versus Kofi Kingston versus Karrion Kross in the IC title tournament qualifier. I enjoyed Kofi and Jey working together, given their history of New Day and the Usos. That was quite nice. Karrion Kross ducks the Trouble in Paradise. We then got the spear and the Uso splash to Karrion Kross for the Jey Uso win. Good stuff. I prefer the other triple threat match, but this was good.
I prefer the other triple threat match, and I also prefer the look of the triple threat matches next week to this one, if I can be honest. That said, good for what it is. Jey Uso is a good choice. And also it being a fatal four-way rather than a singles final means that he doesn't have to be pinned. I don't think he's winning it.
Who? Jey?
Well, I mean Jey. I don't think Jey's winning the fatal four-way.
Do you not?
No.
I think he is.
No.
Well, who do you think is winning it then? Out of the names that we've got lined up, because we've got like Pete Dunne, spoilers, qualifies later. Next week there's a triple threat that's got Dragon Lee and someone else, and then Bronson Reed's in one of them. I think with Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. Yeah,
I personally would. I mean, I'd pick Dragunov. That might just be because I'm fantasy booking rather than I'm making any sense. But for me, I don't think Jey needs to win it. I think Jey needs to be involved in something to tide us over through till the end of October, through the end of September.
I agree, but Jey was the one who got the promo last week, and
but
Jey then won this match here, and then later on, Braun Breaker's promo was specifically about Jey.
That's
Uso.
true.
So I get the feeling that Jey is winning this tournament.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Kind of like, you know, when they
egg on my face.
Jey came out and cut this promo being like, I'm going to win Money in the Bank, and then they had a qualifier for him to get into Money in the Bank. It's like, well, I think you're probably going into Money in the Bank because you got a promo last week saying you're going to be in, you've already entered yourself into Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
We then got the announcement that SmackDown will start on USA on September 13th with our new commentary team. Gunther cut a promo from Europe via Instagram, and then Randy Orton came out for a promo. Gunther was away this week because he is in Europe doing the little European
pre-tour.
The little pre-tour ahead of Bash in Berlin. So like Lyra Valkyria is also on that tour. Sheamus is also on that tour as well, which is why they went on this show this week. It's mostly SmackDown because like Cody's there and AJ. It's mostly the SmackDown crew, but there's a few Raw stars there, specifically Gunther because, you know, that's what you're trying to...
He's European.
Yeah, he's European. He's Austrian. But it did mean that without Gunther, there wasn't a whole lot for Randy Orton to say in this promo that hasn't already been said.
Right.
He kind of covered a lot of the ground that has already been covered. This felt like we had a segment here because we needed to have a Randy Orton go-home segment, but this wasn't a go-home segment for a match. The thing I did like in here, which was a nice little bit of just extra spice onto, you know, a little bit of extra salt and pepper on this, is that I won this title. I was the youngest person to win this title. I retired this title. And now that it's a new title with a new lineage, I think I should be part of that lineage. So I thought it was a nice little bit of salt and pepper, but broadly speaking, we just covered the same ground we've covered previously.
Yeah, I think last week I talked about wondering why they didn't do a sort of match to weaken the knee on the go-home show. Now I understand it's because Gunther and Ludwig are hosting barbecues all over Europe. Have you seen that picture?
Yeah.
It's a fabulous picture. But in its place, this was again a good justification. Just for me, I think maybe this is an example of somewhere where I'm like, do it shorter, do it sat in the bleachers, having a frank conversation, and it saves you a bunch of time and you can slot something else in there. Then I suppose you want him coming out to the crowd because he's going to be the heel in Germany.
Yeah, you want to get the crowd.
You want to give the crowd something to do.
You want to give the crowd the moment to see the Randy Orton entrance.
Yeah, which makes sense to me as well.
Me too.
And if they're going to do that, at least they used it for a purpose that made me care a little bit. This kind of like Randy Orton. I'm on the Randy Orton Final Countdown, I suppose. Is good. Good.
We'll talk about more of that on the Bash in Berlin predictions video that'll go out tomorrow. Unholy Union cut a promo backstage because they're facing the Powerbuff Girls at Bash in Berlin. And then we got what was my absolute favorite thing on this show. Braun Strowman versus Bronson Reed. A match that, last week when it was announced, I was like, like, I'm really enjoying this Bronson Reed thing, but like I've got a little interest in Braun Strowman, so I was like, I'm not that fussed about this taking place. But it's a good thing for Bronson to get a win over. Like he beats the big man. I think that's a really fun thing. He lays him out with loads of tsunamis. That'll be really, really cool. Egg on my face because the match doesn't matter. No, it wasn't. This was what Maxine and Ivy Nile was last week. This was not a match. This was just a build for an angle. Because they get out the ring. The match doesn't even have a finish. Like, they don't ring the bell or anything. They don't count either of them out. They just stop. And so they brawl up and they brawl out to the back. Bronson Reed throws a bin at him at one point, and they brawl to the back. Braun kills some security guards. They brawl out into a car park. And Braun Strowman chokeslams Bronson Reed onto a car hood, and then he pounces him onto another car, and then there's brawling in the scruffle and stuff. And Reed lays out Strowman on top of the car, and then he climbs up onto this concrete wall, walks along it, and you could actually hear the crowd stand up. Because it was the noise that they made. Like, you didn't see it. You just hear them all go, like, collectively get out their seats. Because he jumped off of this wall and did a tsunami onto the top of the car, and they rigged this car up for all of the windows to explode.
And the light inside as well, like, sparked.
Yeah, so smoke came out of the hood of the car. This was awesome. This was so sports entertaining. I had such a great time with this. It was my favorite thing on Raw. This might be my favorite thing on Raw in weeks. Like, I have loved this angle. I thought this was so good.
Yeah. I mean, even down to Bronson Reed comes out with a little Godzilla-looking coat on. He's got his big spines on, so you know you're going to have a big, is it kaiju?
Kaiju, yes.
Kaiju fight. Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I have my little nitpicks, which are...
How very dare you?
Yeah. Well, it's because why is Bronson Reed giving up on a fight and leaving?
Well, it was because he was a big lad.
He went, I don't want to do that. And I was like, no, don't do that. Have him batter. I would rather Bronson Reed just battered Braun Strowman all the way out. Why is Braun Strowman hitting security guards? I thought he didn't like bullies. Like, that is a lack of consistency that I think should be highlighted.
That's fair.
But the rest of it... top notch.
Oh,
absolutely
so
loved
great.
it. I love the visuals. I love the fact that Bronson did just sort of wait for him with a bin and launch it in his face. I like that they're just breaking cars. I like the mention of it being Graves' car and being like, I should have taken the insurance package. I love all bits like that. I just like brawls outside. Wasn't it was it earlier on this year, maybe Lashley and Bronson Reed were having bits where maybe it was last year. I swear there was a segment of time.
If it's Lashley in a storyline, that's probably 2 years ago.
But there was a segment of time where the story essentially was we're going to have a match, but it keeps spilling to the outside. And I was like, he gives them a steel cage, but they break out the steel cage. And in the end, I was like, he's like, just let him go. Falls count anyway. That's what I wanted to happen. They kept having brawls. I like a brawl that ends up spilling.
Yeah.
And this spilled. And the visual of him finding space, diving, landing. It just was great.
It was so
flattening
awesome.
the car.
Yeah.
Then the whole business of getting Braun Strowman some medical attention, but apparently Bronson Reed just got up and walked away.
But crucially as well, they were like, no one knows what his condition is because he refused medical attention because he's big Bronson Reed, which I think gives him an out then for the triple threat next week. Gives him maybe a reason not to win, or it goes to the fatal four-way and that's an out for him not to win there. But that gives him an out not to win the tournament. Because at this point, I'm like, have him win the tournament. I don't care if it upsets Rikishi. Howdy. I think he should win because I want to see Braun versus Reed at this point.
This is when we've spoken in the past about them being able to heat a person up in 1 week, they did that with the angle with Seth, and then the question was how you're going to follow it up, and they've done that.
Yeah,
and this was great. More.
I cannot say enough good things about this. It was my favorite thing on the show. I've watched that car explode so many times, and also we got like 20 replays of it later on because they timed it so well. They were like, show it from every angle.
Yeah,
give them every single one of the angles we filmed it from. It's awesome. We then had our second triple threat match, which was The Miz versus Xavier Woods versus Pete Dunne. This was very, very good action. I really, really enjoyed this. There's a really fun spot in this as well where Woods got laid out with the Skull Crushing finale, and then Pete Dunne got in and got the crossface on Miz. And Miz, while like reaching out and like teasing a tap, got a cover on got a cover on Xavier Woods, and then Woods had to kick out, and actually I thought that Corey Graves was, I was like, I'm not sure how smart that was because now you're just stuck in a crossface. You could have been using that energy to get out of the crossface. But I thought it was actually a really like cool and inventive spot.
It was very inventive. I liked it.
Miz hit the Skull Crush finale, but Pete Dunne threw the referee out, and then he hit the bitter end on pulled the referee out of the ring. He then hit the bitter end on the Miz, and he got the win. Glad to see Pete Dunne get a push, but again, like I said earlier, I was kind of more into the Woods and Kofi thing.
This is where I'm like, maybe you're going to put Sheamus in the match.
I think Sheamus does qualify next week.
Yeah.
The chat pointed out who the other name was that we forgot. It's Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, yes, of course.
At the start of the show, he said he was in the tournament.
Yeah, and that was another person where I was like, oh, maybe you do win it, but I actually don't think it's necessary. I don't know. There's a lot of...
It's him, so it's Ilya, Dragon Lee, and him. I mean, Ilya would be my pick.
Because as a fan, rather than as a...
Yeah.
Logical.
But I maybe Dom in there for heat purposes. I think I would still put Ilya in because I think you can have like Rhea and Damian Priest cost him that. So I think I still would pick Ilya. That. But yeah, I thought this was a really, really fun match, and I'm happy to see Pete Dunne. But I think you're right. I think this means Sheamus goes through next week.
Yeah, Sheamus goes through. Ilya Braun is where I want to end up because it was teased and because we had those few matches and we never got a satisfactory conclusion to them. I don't know if that's now or if it will be a bit later, but we'll see.
And that's pretty much the last thing for us to cover because then we had the Braun Breaker interview where he specifically targeted Jay, which is why I think Jay's probably winning this. And then he went, oh yeah, and also Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
We had Chad Gable cutting a promo on Uncle Howdy, and then we had the Terror Twins cutting a promo, and then we had a lovely video tribute to Sid.
Oh yeah, Sid. Yeah.
Which was really, really nice. Apparently, like, very few hours notice to get it done because Sid had kept his illness very private. There's only a handful of people that knew, so the news of his passing did come as a surprise to pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
But it was a brilliant, lovely, wonderful tribute.
Yeah, it was, and it was just nice to see, again, sort of like a very creative mind in wrestling be celebrated like that.
But there you go. That was the show. I thought it was a very, very good episode of Monday Night Raw. Like, as I said this at the start, as a go-home show, I don't think this fulfilled the brief.
Yeah, it hasn't lit the world on fire. But...
No. If I can Great British Menu it, I don't think it's fulfilled the brief. However, as a meal, it's a really, really nice meal.
It's sort of like it wouldn't be our last Raw if you didn't compare it to a tikka paneer dansak or whatever it was.
Oh, how can I compare this to a tikka paneer dansak?
Give me what curry was this episode of Raw?
Oh, that's a good question, Dan. I'm trying to specifically tie it into how I can make this about a paneer tikka dansak or tikka paneer dansak. Give me some time on that. I'll try and come up with that before the end of the show. But, while you're all here, big thank you to all of you who are watching. Thank you for all who joined us in the live chat as well. Thank you for leaving your comments down below. We do have to shout out some very special people, though. And those are our Patreon Pledgehammers from patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Thank you all so much for those of you who signed up over the weekend after we posted up our Royal Rumble 2014 review over on the main WrestleTalk channel, because that was an amuse-bouche to get you and see you wanted to come see the other 6 parts of our breakup of the Shield saga. On Wednesday, we'll be releasing at the new level the second part, our next series. We're doing a WrestleTalk Extra where we're looking at Angle versus Joe from TNA and their first 5 matches. We'll review Genesis 06 to kick things off. There's free as a new Survival series over there. There's an exclusive episode of Survival series going up. So there's loads of cool stuff going on with the Patreon. Thank you all so much who've passed. We have now broken Patreon records for our own personal Patreon records. So we're really so thankful for all of you who've helped support WrestleTalk. So thank you to every single one of you. And in particular, let's thank these fine people. The Prettiest Pirate, DAM.
Go Ace, the Ace of Spades, Adrian Saint.
Tony Jabroni.
Hear Me Roar, Sarah 2 Lion.
The Heir to the Throne, Kate Ayers.
Hannah A, baby.
The Razor's Edge, CJ Sharp.
And of course, the moderating team, Andy.
Jeff.
Ian.
Jack.
James.
John.
Les.
And of course, because she'll never put her name on the list, Mod Mother Jenna.
Thank you very much, Mod.
So much. It was really wonderful over All In Weekend to meet so many of you guys, those names we read out a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, we met Aaron Hanrahan, met Ten Ruzza, who I then, managed to link together is one of our Patreon backers, but has got a different name. So it was so lovely to meet as many of you as we did over All In Weekend. Thank you to anyone who did come up to say hello. It genuinely, made the weekend for me because it was so wonderful. Particularly at Box Park on the Sunday beforehand. Thank you to everyone who came to watch us do live survival series. I was really nervous that no one was going to care. Because, it's been done with progress and stuff, and I think it's, I was a bit concerned that it wasn't really going to be an audience that not that knows who we are, more crucially cares who we are, because it's not like we're important people. Axel Tischer and Big Damo, they were doing things, they're important. Tate Mayfair's was doing stuff, he's important. Eddie Dennis, he's important. We're not important. So I had a bit of a concern that no one was going to care, but you all did,
and everyone got involved.
Everyone did the catchphrases and stuff, and it was really, really great. So thank you all so much to everyone who came.
Crucially, I won.
Dan did win 100%.
Thank you so much. With the assist from SP3.
Yeah, I was trying for you to not use SP3, because I knew he would give you a correct answer. Yeah. But also there was a little girl that was trying to get your attention.
When have I ever wanted to give children the time of day?
And I was like, I'd have been so sweet if the 7-year-old gave an answer. Pete let a 7-year-old answer for him.
Yeah, look what happened to Pete.
The 7-year-old said Tony Khan.
And he went out. Exactly. I'm never doing that. Never trust the children.
It was a really, really
It should be seen and not heard.
It was a big shout out as well to the person who made us friendship bracelets.
Yeah, I traded a couple.
Yeah. As someone who turns 40 next year, it could be very easy for me to be very sniffy about this friendship bracelet thing, but I've been given 2 over the last few months.
So now you see why CM Punk is so upset.
I get it.
Yeah.
And generally I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
It's just nice.
It is nice.
It's nice things.
It's
People doing nice stuff.
It's a nice thing.
Don't overthink it.
And as I said, as someone who's turned 40, it could be so easy for me to sit here and be like, oh, these bloody kids, what are these doing? Actually, back in my day, we just gave each other handshakes because that's a real sign of friendship.
How does this guy feel about the Oasis reunion?
Oh, he's there front row tickets.
I bet he is. Well, he can't. Well, he can't because there's going to be some shiny teenager who wasn't there the first time bought a t-shirt at H&M.
I bet you they can't name the first 5 tracks of What's the Story Morning Glory. Oh, I was there when I first played Nibworth. That was where I was.
I hate him so much.
Why do you hate that man?
He's a horrible man. You know he is.
Thank you all so much. Leave a comment down below. Ding, ding, ding. This is your final call for UltraChats on this here show. We got the poll running. We'll end the poll at the end of the show. CK says, hey, you two, hope you'll do well. It does seem that Alexa will be the 6th member, but I admit that from the initial introduction, I thought the lantern, representing the spirit of Bray, was actually the 6th. Wishful thinking on my part, I think RIP to Sid. So I actually said this in the 3 count we did. I don't think Alexa's needed in this group.
She isn't.
No.
She isn't needed.
Will be a lovely member.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm not looking at this being like, oh man, I can't wait for Alexa to show up.
Yeah, I'm excited for her to be back whenever she's ready. She seems to be really looking forward to it, but I don't think it's necessary.
Kevin here said, good episode of Raw. Loved the Reed and Strowman brawl and really good match for Howdy and Gable. I'd love it, though, if WWE would stop having PFC saying they make an impact when they just keep losing.
There you go. It's the lack of follow-up, I think.
I was listening to a podcast about this, and I didn't pick up on this when we did our review last week, but I was listening to a podcast that was talking about how, the commentary aren't doing them any favors either, because, Michael Cole keeps getting the name wrong and saying it's... And then Pat McAfee last week said it sounds like KFC.
Yeah.
That is not helping them either.
No, it doesn't. It's the full thing. It's all about the presentation. And again, what I'm saying is, if you're given snot, it's very hard to spin it to gold.
Geek of Arabia said, good show. While Howdy vs. Gable was a fantastic in-ring return for Uncle Howdy, my favourite actual match was the second three-way, as it was less predictable than the first one, which was also solid. The Braun Reed angle was awesome and Drew's promo was perfect. Jam that jam. R.I.P. Sid.
Very well said.
Matt Hennessy here said, I want to say that I agree with Luke's criticism over the handling of the women's division on Raw, and WWE do need to do better. Most episodes of Raw this year have had one women's match and one women's angle. However, most episodes of Dynamite have had one women's and one women's angle this year. I don't think anyone has a problem with your criticism, Luke, and I think most people agree with you and are glad you have the criticism. I think the issue is the issue people have is you criticize WWE for the problem, not AEW who have the same problem.
Incorrect.
Matt, what show have you been watching for the past 5 years?
Incorrect. Yeah.
Like, we've been saying this since AEW's inception in 2019 that they only have one. What show are you guys watching?
Where do you think Dan Layton's woke corner came from? It was because I whinged about this every other week.
Yeah.
No. Here's the thing. It is a very accurate thing to say that a criticism should be labeled to all companies equally, right? That's a perfectly valid thing to have. It's just that we've been doing that.
Yeah.
And actually, what I will say is we have empirical data that shows that over the past year or so, probably because he spent a load of money on one of the stars and wanted to make sure he's getting his money's worth, the women's division in AEW has been given double the amount of time. They still could be given more time,
100%.
but they have been given more time. There is a inconsistency in WWE specifically in the way that they apportion the time. I think you're dead right to bring it up. I think one match on the show is not good enough, even if they are involved in other angles. As I say, there is no reason why that belt can't be elsewhere being used in other ways. There are multiple different angles. Sometimes things get bumped, sometimes the others get bumped. It's just that when you see 7 or 8 men's matches and one of those matches gets, or like let's say you have 7 segments in a show and you go in planning to have 4 of them be men's and 3 of them are women's. If the men's take the majority and one gets missed, you don't notice it as much because they get more. If the women's get bumped, it becomes more obvious. There is an inconsistency and it should be called out.
Yeah, and I said when Mercedes got signed, I was like, with Tony spending so much money on Monet coming in, he's going to have to put more effort into his women's division, and he has. They are more times, but I think Jen Pepperman's been very instrumental in a lot of that as well. So I think that they have done better this year. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But we say that on every show as well. But like, man, we were banging our heads against walls
on Collision. I was banging my head. Yeah, I was like reading for filth for the amount of times it would be like, here comes the women for an entrance. Now we're going to go to commercial. We're back and they finished.
Yeah.
And off they go.
Banging my head against a brick wall for 2019, 2020, 2021 on this very show, being like, this one match is not good enough. And after a while, you're like, well, I've been saying it for 3 years and clearly nothing is going to change. And it didn't change until this year.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking for now is for WWE to make that change.
And I think the reason that we bring up the criticism, the reason we get frustrated is because they've shown us before that they can.
Yeah, of course.
I really loved what they did with the Queen of the
regime.
Yeah, I love what they did with the Queen of the Ring tournament this year. Like, it's recent history that they've done a really good job. Do it again. Yeah. Do more of it.
There was a comment that was left on the news today that was just like, well, what you're failing to realise is that the women of WWE have done interviews where they've said that they don't want matches, they want storylines. I'm like, well, great, they're not getting that either.
And also storylines and matches. Whatever.
Anyway, Blake here said, I think I realised why the Punk-McIntyre feud is still not clicking for me. They've been feuding for 10 months now, and we still don't know why they're feuding. We've only heard Drew say something like, you know what he was like to me back in the day. I think we kind of do. I think Drew's made it fairly clear. Like, he hasn't said explicitly what he did to him back in the day, but we can get to that point. We're not at the final third of this trilogy yet, maybe, Blake. But also, I think I know why they're feuding.
Yeah. Well, because Drew McIntyre feels slighted by CM Punk's mere presence in the company. Punk has decided to use that to sort of have a go at Drew.
Yeah.
And they're just two people who are at each other's throats. It's quite simple.
Just going to give a quick shout out here to Francesca, who's just said, did we heck Luke? We had shag bands. Absolutely dead right. We fully did. That's exactly what we had. Luke here said, hey guys, is it just me or has Bronson Reed made himself a legit world title level star over the past month? Also, finally great to chat with you, Dan. Good day from down under.
Great to chat with you as well. Like we had last week on the Patreon call. I don't know that he's made himself a world title star yet.
No, I don't think so yet.
I think powerful figure that can be used to a great effect. Certainly made himself someone I care to see every week. Rather than just be like, here I am as a third member of the Triple Threat match.
Yeah. Real Double J said, spoilers, Xavier doesn't like Odyssey Jones because he keeps stacking the cups upright in the dishwasher, making a soapy mess unloading. I'd love to see a swerve and Kofi turns heel, blaming Xavier for losing his belief in the power of positivity. I don't want either of them to turn.
No, that's it. I want it to ultimately be about, like, you know, friendship will out.
Yeah.
That's what the New Day represents to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
Raphael said, while I objectively think it was a good match, I'm of the personal belief that Howdy should have killed Chad Gable, but that's just nitpicking. Other than that, okay, Raw with a great greed match. You're right. And you're right. Liv does laugh like a surfer fish on SpongeBob.
Live, laugh, love. I would like for Big E to make a little comeback. Not in a match, unless he's ready, but a segment where he, like,
brings the team back together.
Come on. What are you doing, mate? I think that would feel very nice.
100%.
I just thought that
as an in-ring segment, I think it would be very special.
Yeah.
Ben here said, sorry, boys, Gunther wasn't on the show because the man was busy beating the living crap out of Sheamus here in Brussels. Truly a dream come true. Got to hear a Gunther chop live and bagard. Also, Jacob Fatu scared me to death. He's a bad, bad man. Feed My T-Rex said, hey guys, first time UltraChat here. Thank you for the great content. Love every episode. I will be in Berlin for SmackDown and Bash this weekend. It'll be my first wrestling show live. Do you have any tips on how I can prepare or what I should expect?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Just go and enjoy it, really.
Yeah.
I don't overthink it.
So we had, I spoke to quite a few people over the weekend who were telling me like that was their first show. It was mostly on like All In, like when we were at the Box Pub, we were like, this is my first wrestling show I've ever been to, so I'm really excited. Like, and I was like, just go and enjoy it. Like, just don't go there with any like preconceptions or anything. Just get in your seat and just let it happen. And then what you'll do is your emotions will kind of take over you. There's a few people who said to me, it was like, because when we were at the Rev Pro show, some people behind us were just like, it was just so nice to see you just enjoying yourself. Like, I think people have this sort of misconception that like because we're wrestling podcasts and stuff that we just go there and just watch wrestling. But no, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So like I will jump up and down in my seat and I will get very excited for things. But so, and that is just because the emotion just takes over me.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So yeah, just go in and just have fun.
Yeah.
Just enjoy yourself as much as you can.
There's no right way to enjoy yourself, but there is a wrong way. Don't go into business for yourself. But if it's your first event, I don't think you will.
Yeah, there was certainly some people who were trying to go into business. There was a pocket of people who were trying to get a Tony Storm chant started during the Mercedes Moné Britt Baker match, which did not pick up.
It did not.
Feed My T-Rex said, hey guys, first time UltraChat here. Thank you for the great content. Love every episode. Oh, we just did that one. Sorry, I do apologize. Pelvamo said, number one Fandy suggestion, winner survival series competes Money in the Bank. See you in Berlin. Peter Gothenberg Sweden.
Ah, lovely. Thank you, Peter.
So the winner of the survival series, basically that becomes the Money in the Bank lineup.
Interesting.
I think it doesn't.
They're too far away.
It doesn't. I think it's too far away. I think you're right. But also, B, it doesn't work now because they don't do the traditional 5-on-5 match.
Yeah,
they just do War Games matches now. So I don't think it kind of has the same thing. I think War Games has its stipulation, which is it's War Games. You need to win War Games in order to do this.
Yeah.
Raj here said, I think I'm tapping out. I just don't care or bring myself to care about anything in WWE outside of damage control of Jacob Fatu. Wyatt Six is Meh. Liv is babyface Rhea. Liv is baby Rhea. Braun Breaker is a green as Tan is orange. And I'm phoning it in as much as Punk.
Well, okay. If you feel that strongly, don't.
Honestly, yeah. Like if wrestling is not for you, you're not enjoying it, then stop watching it. Like we don't. Like I stopped watching for a while. Like I wasn't watching week-to-week television. I was actually just keeping up with it through podcasts. Like
a lot of people have.
I told the story many times over, but I didn't watch Raw weekly from like 2007 up until I started working here in 2017. That's like a good 10-year stretch. I just got Raw through Wrestling Observer Radio. And like, and other podcast reviews that were talking about it.
It's one of those things where I feel like life is. There's a great Kim Cattrall quote that says, "I don't want to spend an hour in a place I'm not enjoying myself," kind of thing. What's the word? I butchered what she said, but point being, if you're not enjoying yourself, don't.
Also, you're right though. Braun Breaker's tan is out of control.
It was American.
Andrew Dera Mike here said, this is from our All-In review, so this one did get missed. I welled up when Taz got involved to help Hook. I feel like AEW gave him a moment that WWE never did. Low-key moment of the night for me. AEW knows how to treat their legends. Great show by a great promotion. I will say, they gave him a great opening for Taz in WWE. That Royal Rumble 2000 debut is like, he goes out and chokes out Kurt Angle.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
It's just that the following month he's feuding with the Big Boss Man. No disrespect disrespect to the boss man, but it's just he ended up being down there very quickly. Kevin said, don't know if it's because I had a challenging 2024 personally, and maybe wrestling came back to me to bring this escapism I needed, although I got to meet you lovely boys, so that's good. But I think 2024 is the best year of pro wrestling, at least in North America.
It's been very good so far.
It has. My tattoo artist who did my thing over the weekend said he recognized me. He said, we met before. And he's like, oh, we've met before. And I said, no, we haven't. That's my first time meeting you. And then after a while, we probably figured, oh, you probably see my face on YouTube. He's not a wrestling fan per se, but he's probably like, he goes, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, so maybe I just saw it then. And he was talking about wrestling, and he's like, it's the usual conversation. I used to watch it when it was DX, The Undertaker, The Rock, this and the other. But I was chatting about it, and he was like, when it goes to Netflix, I'll probably get back into watching it again because I've already got a Netflix subscription. And, I liked it 20 odd years ago, so maybe I'll like it now. He goes, is it good now? And I was like, honestly, it's better now than it was then.
Yeah,
I was like, if you tune in and watch it now, you will have a good time because it's a better product now.
Wrestling is better, and the stories are generally better.
It is. I think it's much better now. And I think this has been a great year. And not just in North America. We've had a great year on our British Isles as well. Leonza here said, true story, I went to a co-worker's wedding party. She's not a wrestling fan at all. Her favorite is The Rock. Didn't know he was a wrestler. She invited a friend who helps her at the gym. She introduced him, and I said, holy S, because it was Sid.
Oh, wow.
That's so great.
That's a great story. Did you see, it's because it's a wedding party, did you see there was something went around on the weekend. Someone had a wedding and their table was all their tables were 2000 pay-per-views. Like I'm going to seat my exes all together at Armageddon.
Chris Petru, who's been a member for 39 months in a row, said, hello friends, hope you're doing well. R.I.P. Sid. He was a great monster villain in the 1990s. I wish he'd made it into the Hall of Fame in time.
I mean, that's not it's one of those things where the Hall of Fame is not the be all and end all, but it is nice to see people get that recognition when they're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ket here said, who could possibly care about wrestling right now? The Sonic movie 3 trailer dropped today and it's amazing. Luke, I want to hear your thoughts on the trailer since you're a Sonic fan as well. Well, I did watch it before we came down here. It's a very cool trailer. Keanu Reeves sounds really cool. I'm not a Shadow guy because my era of Sonic is, I'm nearly 40 years old, is those first 4 or 5 games. It's basically up until Adventure at a push. So that's my era of Sonic, but trailer looked like a lot of fun and I really want to see the movie because I really enjoyed the second one. I
play Shadow in Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. So.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
You should pick Knuckles because that's what cool people do.
I did win 2008, but then Shadow's like Knuckles and eyeliner. Do you know what I mean?
And Ricardo has become a member. Thank you very much. And now, Dan,
oh God,
there's a lot of love coming in for you. Firstly, from Mod Mother Jenna, saying, being with the company as I am never surprised by announcements. However, I did not know Dan was leaving us. I've so enjoyed having him with us and will miss his unique commentary style and pop culture references. Thank you, Dan.
I'm going to have to send you clips to Drag Race, aren't I, to keep annoying certain people. Thank you, Mod, for the...
Mayor Faithful Dan said, dear other Dan, I am shocked to learn that this is your last show. Thank you for holding up the good name of Dan in the WrestleTalk office. You elevated the reviews to a new level. Thank you, really. See you down the road. Good luck on what is next.
I hope you will see me down the road. I'm not... I want to stay around on weekends.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
I'll be a weekend down.
He's doing Bash in Berlin.
Yeah.
Which is this Sunday. Mod Andy here said, Dan, I've enjoyed your broadcast and will miss you on Tuesdays. After seeing how excited you have been about school, I'm so unbelievably happy for you, and I just know you're going to kill it. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Andy.
Brett here said, I hope you're all the best for you at school, Dan. I will say that Luke and Dan for the Raw Review has been my favorite WrestleTalk podcast combo. Definitely will miss this setup, and I'm very proud and very happy for you, Dan. Also, this Raw was great. Bronson effing Reed.
Quite.
Anonymous says, Dan, I've been watching your YouTube channel for years. I'm a big fan. I was so happy when I found out you did wrestling content when I started watching last year. You'll be missed, but good luck and thank you. Also, Raw was very good.
You can, I'll be vlogging my experience of going back to school at the age of 34, so you can come along and watch it.
The Guilty Hat said, just wanted to do a quick odd chat to thank Dan for his work on the podcast. His insight, positive attitude, and appreciation for real main event talent such as The Miz has been refreshing and will be missed. Best of luck into what you're moving on to.
My lasting legacy is getting The Miz over on this podcast.
And Natalia.
And Natalia.
Who never had her flowers on this show.
I miss her, can I just say.
Because they'll never be on pay-per-views, you'll never get to talk about
I know! I'll find a way.
Poet to the Poet's Poet said, Dear Dan, your voice and perspective have been refreshing in this wrestling sphere. Stay woke.
You stay woke. Love that.
Matt said, I've really enjoyed your work, Dan, even if I didn't agree with all your opinions. I appreciate your passion. I listen to you and Luke on my lunch break. I enjoy both of your opinions, even if I don't agree with them all the time. Appreciate your passion too, Luke.
That is truly it. Like, if you agree or not, at least we're having a chat.
That's it. You're never going to agree with everything that I say, much in the same way that I'll probably never agree with everything that you have to say about things, or even you. And I love you to pieces.
It's just I'm right.
Well, yeah, and there is that. David here said, good luck with school, Dan. I have to say I've loved Pretty Dadly, and I hope to meet both of you someday to properly thank you for getting me through some tough times.
I hope we do as well.
Mark1987 said, thank you all so much for your work here, Dan. Always look forward to bumping into you when WrestleTalk did their live events. All the luck in the world with the next steps, and thank you for all the laughs. Golden Knight says, hey, Prof, I'm devastated that you're leaving WrestleTalk for now. Can't wait for you to hit the big time because I know you will smash it. It's not a goodbye. It's just ta-ta for now.
It very much is that.
Double J says, thank you, Dan, for your insight you bring, the banter you inspire, the respect you give to areas traditionally not represented well by wrestling, and just generally slaying it in general. Love to see your friends at work support you, and so do we. Soar high. Trey says, Dan, you are a gem, and you always put a positive spin on the tribalistic time in wrestling without judgment. Love your energy, and good luck with everything in life. I will miss you terribly, and we're there for the first live experiences on this channel, and we appreciate you. Kofi the Raven here said, years from now we will hear about Dan performing on the stage of the as the MC in Cabaret in London, as we can say, hey, I remember he was talking about wrestling on the internet. Good luck to you. You were a joy to watch here. You will be missed.
Thank you very much. That was the worst 5 minutes of my life. I appreciate you all so much. I also just love talking with you. That's why I'm sad, because it's like, it's my mate, and we get for an hour and a half a week to talk about wrestling, and it's the best.
It's the thing. I'm going to miss it, man. And Mike here said, lastly, just on a bit of wrestling chats. And then Raw, says, speaking of issues with the women's division, all you have to do is look over at NXT. They're already proportioning things correctly over there, and them not being able to bring that to the main roster is quite frustrating.
That's it. They can do it. Yeah. I know they can do it, so they can,
So, Dan, I have not been looking forward to this, and I'm doing my best to not get emotional about this. So I may not look at you now because
That's fine.
But when Ollie stepped down from doing the Raw podcast, it was very difficult to find a host that could come in and that we could just find the magic and Ollie and I had together, because we've been doing it for so long together. And like we had Pete coming in, but then Pete got too busy. I had Sullivan for a bit, but it just like Sullivan got too busy. And then you stepped in, and then when we're like, we need to find someone, I was like, I want to do it with Dan. Because I think Dan's got a really good attitude for this, and also he's a really good podcaster, and I think we would have a really good time together. And I thought it would be the best thing that could happen. What I was not expecting was for this to become my favorite show, and like for you to become like one of my favorite people to broadcast with. And I always look forward to doing the Raw podcast with you, and I love doing the show, and I'm really genuinely so gonna miss doing this with you. And it has been it's been so nice having you do this show with me for the last few years, and I'm really going to miss you, bud. But I know that you are going to do really, really well in what you're going to do next, and I know that it's my fault that you're going.
Last week we were talking about it, and Luke said that I should do it, and I was like, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, and he was like, you have to. I was like, I
think you kind of have to do this. So I'm truly sad, but I know you're going to do absolutely amazing.
I love you.
I love you so much. Thank you, bud.
Yeah, it's just a joy when you get to talk to one of your favorite people about one of your favorite things for an hour and a half every week and share it with all of you. But you also don't see we finish the pod and then just talk for
another half an hour.
But it's like it's joyous, it's wonderful. That's why I'm not fully going anywhere.
Exactly, I know.
We'll go to Progress, we'll go to Cabaret, we'll do all the things. But it is.
You said to me earlier, you were like, "Mate, can I still come to wrestling?" Yeah. Oh, yes, of course you can send a wrestling show to this.
But when you get at work to be able to do nice things with people that you care about, it becomes the highlight of the week. So, love you.
I love you too, bud. And it's not the end, is it? Because we're going to see you.
Oh yeah, I'm doing like show next week.
Yeah. So. I'll probably do a pay-per-view review with you down
the
line. I'm just trying to broadcast.
Bad Blood. I'll see you Bad Blood.
I'm doing a broadcast with you tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we pre-recorded that, so this is the end now. And I have not forget to on the poll, so I'll do that now as well. End this off. 78% thumbs up, 18% thumbs in the middle.
I'm glad it was a good one.
Yeah, I think so. It was nice. Yeah, it was nice to have it end on a good one. Good. Nice for you to, actually, but it's not the end because you've got next week's show.
I've got next week's, but for our one.
For our one, it is, absolutely.
I'm going to phone it in with Ollie next week.
You'll be really surprised when he keeps it to an hour.
Yeah. No, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving until I get over that 2 hour mark. You just wait.
Thank you all so much for joining us. Please do press the subscribe button. Give us a little thumbs up as well. Leave a lovely message for Dan in the live chat and leave a lovely comment for him down in the comments as well. We'll be back tomorrow with the Bash in Berlin predictions. Then Ollie and I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite on Thursday, which will also be a lovely time because I do love Ollie as well. Before anyone starts to think I've now got a new favourite. Yeah, and actually we'll be, I might as well say it now. Moving forward, so not next week, but the week after, we're also having a commentary shift-up. Myself and Oliver Davis will be returning to the Raw review. Me and Ollie are going to review Raw again. And myself and Tempest will become the AEW Dynamite duo here on the channel.
I said to Ollie when he was like, I'm going to have to do Raw, I was like, hey, it's good now.
It's good now.
You'll never believe it.
It also means we're switching it up on the news as well. So I'm going to be doing the Dynamite reviews on Thursday, and Ollie will be doing the Raw reviews on Tuesday episodes of WrestleTalk News.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's with WWE having their commentary shake-up. We thought we'll have a commentary shake-up too. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. We will see you very, very soon, and take care. I'm going to go in DAD. That has been the Professor, the Truth, the Dan Layton. Jam that jam.